Welcome back. Time now to talk about the SNP. My very clever line on it is it RIP for the SNP? Because, my God, what scenes we've seen over the last week. We've seen a raid on Nicola Sturgeon's home and her husband, the former chief executive of the Scottish National Party, Peter Morell's home in Glasgow, setting up a forensics tent in the front garden. What on earth were they digging for? Then we learned at the weekend that a £110,000 motorhome was towed away from the home of Peter Morell's mother. That is, of course, Nicola Sturgeon's mother-in-law. You wonder what that's all about. There are calls in the light of all this for a rerun of the leadership race, that Hamza Yousaf is there under false pretences because when people voted for him, the Nicola Sturgeon continuity candidate, they didn't realise what was coming down the tracks. So it does seem that these are dramatic days for the Scottish National Party. Let's talk to political correspondent Mark McLaughlin. Hello, Mark.
Good morning.
Your thoughts on where the Scottish National Party is right now following a traumatic week? Nicola Sturgeon saying she knew nothing of the police raid. She seems to maintain that her and her husband never talked about the finances of the Scottish National Party. At the weekend, up in Scotland, the Sunday Mail newspaper revealed that at a meeting where somebody said, let's talk about this missing £600,000, Nicola Sturgeon hushed it all up, allegedly, and said, we don't need to talk about the finances. It's all very murky. How damaged is the SNP by this?
Well, according to Mike Russell, who's the interim president, this is the most difficult period the party's gone through in the last 50 years, and he's been a member for about that time. Certainly, it is the most dramatic that I've seen in about 15 years working in the Scottish Parliament. Who would have thought that a camper van would have derailed this huge political machine that seemed pretty unstoppable?
Indeed. And of course, what is it now, a month ago, when Nicola Sturgeon shocked the world, or shocked Scotland, and indeed all of us, by suddenly resigning. The week before, she'd actually given an interview saying there was plenty left in the tank. And then she suddenly quit, saying that it was time to move on, and subsequently claimed it was nothing to do with the investigation, the police investigation into this missing £600,000 of Scottish National Party funds, and that she had no prior knowledge of this police raid. I mean, I'm not casting aspersions about what the former First Minister of Scotland is saying, but a lot of people, quite frankly, Mark, simply do not believe her.
It does seem a bit incredible that somebody working at her level didn't have an inkling that this was coming down the road. This row over the missing £600,000 has been bubbling under for months and months, and there was always a fear that it would rock up at her door at some point. We didn't expect it to be quite so dramatic with a tent and digging in the garden. You're absolutely right. What were they digging for? Peter Morell, her husband, the former chief executive of the SNP, he was released without charge, so they certainly didn't find anything in what he said, or what they found so far, to bring charges against him. So it remains to be seen whether this is some huge scandal at the heart of the party, or whether, at the risk of using a well-known phrase in Scotland, it's just a storm in a teacup.
Yeah, I'm no fan of Nicola Sturgeon, and I don't want to sort of leap to her defence, but I would say that police practice usually dictates that the more theatrical the raid, the less evidence the cops have actually got. There was certainly a lot of theatrics in all of this, and the cops kind of rather seem to be enjoying themselves. But in the light of this raid, and in the light of this racking up of the story of the investigation into the missing £600,000, as you say, Peter Morell was not charged. He was released, but after many hours of questioning, but the investigation continues. And a lot of people who were involved in the SNP leadership voting now feel that they had the wool pulled over their eyes. They didn't know about any of this. The leadership race or vote handily, conveniently, some might say, happened before all of this. And a lot of people in the SNP say that we want to vote again because we voted for the Nicola Sturgeon continuity candidate, and we're not sure we now want the Nicola Sturgeon continuity candidate.
That's right, but a lot of people are warning them off. I don't think that would do them any favours, particularly a year away from a general election, when it would be hugely embarrassing for the party if they lost a huge number of seats in that general election, particularly if they're going to make that push. Now, it's interesting to watch this kind of 3D chess that's going on among the unionist parties to try and head them off. You would think that they would be able to beat the SNP outright after such an embarrassing week like this. But there's still a year to go. Douglas Ross, the Scottish Conservative leader, is encouraging Conservative voters in Scotland to vote tactically, to vote Labour and to dent the SNP. So he's not even confident that he can beat the SNP even outright in constituencies, even in the state that they're in. The Tory party in London says that is absolutely not the position, and the Labour Party say they're not going to do any deals with the SNP at all. So we're in an odd situation where none of the parties in Scotland seem particularly electable right now.
No, and the person who may gain the most advantage from this is probably Keir Starmer. But fascinating times up there, Mark. Let's talk again very soon about this fast-moving story. That's Mark McLaughlin, political commentator on the big question, is it RIP for the SNP? It doesn't look good for them, does it?